The Galactic Council chamber hummed with the low murmurs of anticipation. Representatives from 100 species, some scaled, others furred, a few with translucent skin, gathered in a vast, circular coliseum that doubled as a proving ground. At its center, an arena of shifting terrain loomed, an imposing spectacle of jagged cliffs, gravity wells, and alien machinery. For centuries, the galactic strength test had been a rite of passage, a trial designed to demonstrate a species' place in the cosmic order. No civilization had ever passed on their first attempt. The best had barely survived. Most failed in spectacular, often humiliating fashion. The unspoken purpose was clear: to remind newcomers that, despite their advancements, they were still inferior to the elder races. At the heart of it all, for humans stood side by side, facing the challenge that would define their place in the galaxy. Captain Elias Ford scanned the arena with a critical eye, his military instincts already picking apart potential threats. Broad-shouldered and weathered from years of service, he had the presence of a man who had seen too many skirmishes and too much bureaucracy. He exhaled slowly, adjusting the cuffs of his standard-issue jacket. "They're expecting us to fail," he muttered. "Oh, obviously," Dr. Priya Rao said, adjusting her glasses. The physicist and engineer, barely reaching Ford's shoulder, had an unassuming presence, until she spoke. Razor-sharp intelligence flickered behind her dark eyes, always calculating, always problem-solving. "From what I've gathered, the test is a mix of physical endurance, puzzle-solving, and combat. It's designed to be unwinnable." Unwinnable? Jack Mason, the team's designated wild card, cracked his knuckles. Lean and wiry, his smirk was equal parts cocky and reckless. "I dunno. Document sounds like a challenge." "It is a challenge, Jack," Priya said, exasperated. "That's the point." "Good," he said, rolling his shoulders. "Wouldn't want it to be boring." The fourth member of the team, Nia, Pixie Torres, practically bounced on her heels, scanning the alien machinery with uncontained enthusiasm. Her jumpsuit was already stained with grease. Somehow, despite no mechanical work being required yet. "I dunno, guys. I think we have a solid shot. I mean, yeah, the odds are abysmal, but when has that ever stopped us?" Ford sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "It's not about odds. It's about expectations. They want us to struggle. They want us to look weak. The second we show hesitation, we become just another species. Not a threat, not a competitor. Just another footnote." Jack grinned. "Then I guess we make some history." A deep, guttural voice cut through the noise. Humans stepped forward. The speaker, an 8-foot-tall reptilian known as High Chancellor Vorthrex, fixed him with his 6 golden eyes. His species, the Draxian Dominion, had ruled the Council's military affairs for centuries. His mandibles clicked in amusement as he surveyed the human delegation. "I hope you're prepared," Vorthrex said, voice thick with condescension. "No species has conquered the test on their first attempt. Most require several generations to understand their own weaknesses." Jack opened his mouth, but Ford shot him a look that said, "Do not antagonize the 8-foot warlord." Instead, Priya spoke, her tone measured. "We appreciate the opportunity, Chancellor." Vorthrex chuffed, a sound halfway between a growl and a laugh. He turned to the gathered council. "Let it be recorded, the species known as humans will attempt the test. Let the trial commence." The arena shifted with a deep mechanical groan. Platforms realigned. Gravity fields pulsed to life. Somewhere in the distance, a war engine rumbled to existence. And then, the nightmare began. The first challenge was a gravity gauntlet. The ground beneath them fluctuated wildly. One moment, they were weightless, floating as if in deep space. The next, they were crushed under forces 5 times Earth's gravity. The trial had been designed to break competitors quickly, grinding them down before the real test even began. Ford staggered but kept his footing, forcing his body to adjust. He had endured high-gravity drills before, though nothing this unpredictable. Priya gritted her teeth, trying to calculate the shifts in real time, but the changes were erratic. Jack, meanwhile, had adopted an entirely different approach. He rolled with it, literally, with every shift in gravity. He launched himself in whatever direction the force took him, twisting and tumbling through the air like an acrobat. When gravity increased, he landed in a crouch, grinning like a lunatic. "This is awesome," Ford groaned. "Jack, focus." "I am focused. Focus on how cool this is." Pixie, meanwhile, had found her own solution by anchoring herself to ground with a length of metallic wire she had borrowed from their equipment. Vorthrex watched, his amused expression faltering. "They should be struggling more," he murmured to a fellow council member. "They are not failing as expected." The other agreed, shifting uncomfortably. The second challenge was an intelligence trial, an ancient logic puzzle crafted from alien mathematics, so convoluted that most species required months of study to comprehend its fundamentals. Priya cracked it in 5 minutes. As the alien overseers watched in stunned silence, she leaned back, arms crossed. This wasn't even that hard. You just needed to recognize the base, 12 pattern, and cross-reference it with prime factorization. A council member spluttered. But no species has ever. Ford coughed. "Shall we proceed?" The third trial was combat. A mechanical war beast, forged from the most advanced alien weaponry, descended into the arena. Its plating was impervious to energy blasts. Its processors adapted to fighting styles. It had dismantled war squads from 3 separate species. Jack Mason grinned. Finally, before Ford could stop him, Jack ran straight at it. The war machine's targeting system locked on, too late. Jack slid underneath its first attack, vaulted onto its back, and began tearing out critical components with his bare hands. "What are you doing?" Priya shouted. "Improvising." With a final, triumphant yank, Jack ripped out something important looking. The machine sputtered, twitched, then collapsed. The silence from the council was deafening. Vorthrex's mandibles opened and closed in stunned disbelief. That was unorthodox. Jack wiped his hands. That's one word for it. Ford sighed. "Let's keep moving before they change the rules." Vorthrex narrowed his eyes, watching as the humans advanced further into the trial, further than anyone had on a first attempt. A quiet thought crept into his mind, unsettling and undeniable. What if they actually win? The council chamber was no longer murmuring. It was silent. No species had ever reached the stage of the trial so quickly, let alone humans, a civilization barely out of its cradle by galactic standards. The alien dignitaries, once amused and dismissive, now leaned forward, their expressions shifting from condescension to something closer to alarm. High Chancellor Vorthrex's mandibles twitched in agitation as he watched the humans stride deeper into the arena. "Increase the difficulty," he ordered, his voice a low growl. The test was designed to break challengers, to grind their resolve to dust beneath overwhelming odds. It had humbled warrior kings, shattered empires before they could rise. And yet, these humans, they weren't just surviving, they were laughing. The next challenge materialized in a sudden blur of shifting metal and flickering energy fields. A new section of the arena unfolded, vast, intricate, and undeniably deadly. A labyrinth of plasma walls and mechanical shifting corridors stretched before them, each path lined with traps designed to test agility, perception, and problem-solving. One wrong step would mean incineration, electrocution, or, based on the ominous clicking sounds, being mauled by something with far too many legs. Pixie whistled, hands on her hips. "Okay, this is cool." Ford scanned the maze, already strategizing. "Stay sharp. Priya, any read on patterns?" Priya adjusted her glasses, eyes darting across the labyrinth. "They're using randomized sequencing, but there's a rhythm. Give me a sec." She closed her eyes, running rapid calculations in her head. Jack cracked his knuckles. And hear me out, we don't overthink it. Before Ford could stop him, Jack sprinted straight into the maze. A plasma wall erupted in his path, only for him to die roll beneath it at the last second. A row of retractable blades shot from the floor. He vaulted over them with a grin. The aliens watching gasped. A Lekri diplomat, a species known for its calculating precision, clutched its translator device. He is not reacting fast enough to predict the pattern. He is not thinking. "No," Vorthrex muttered, eyes narrowing. "He's not thinking at all. He's improvising. Jack slid under another plasma barrier, caught a ledge with one hand, and swung himself over a pitfall without breaking stride. His wild, reckless movements shouldn't have worked, but somehow they did. Pixie hooped. Hell yeah, Jack. Parkour that nonsense. Ford pinched the bridge of his nose. We're going to have a diplomatic incident at this rate. Less complaining, more running. Priya said, eyes lighting up. I see the pattern. Follow me. With Priya's calculations guiding them, the team tore through the maze, slipping between plasma walls and dodging mechanical death traps with a combination of intellect and sheer human audacity. Minutes later, they burst out the other side, completely unscathed. A stunned silence filled the Colosseum. They should be dead, an Uraki general whispered. Vorthrex's claws curled against the armrest of his seat, increased the difficulty again. The arena groaned. The very ground beneath them shifted. Ford barely had time to process before the floor dropped out beneath them, sending the humans plummeting into darkness. They landed in a new chamber, or rather, a battlefield. Towering mechanical constructs rose from the gloom, each one bristling with weapons. A guttural, synthetic voice echoed through the chamber, initiating combat phase. The war machines moved as one, locking onto the humans with cold, unfeeling precision. Jack dusted himself off. Oh, good. I was worried this test wouldn't have enough giant murder robots. Ford drew his weapon instinctively, only for Priya to grab his wrist. No, she hissed. Energy weapons won't work. Look, adaptive shielding. Indeed, the machine's armor shimmered with reactive plating, designed to counteract whatever weapons were used against them. Ford frowned. Then how do we fight them? Pixie grinned, already pulling a wrench from her belt. Oh, don't worry. I've got a plan. The aliens watched in stunned disbelief as the battle unfolded in the worst possible way. Instead of fighting like civilized combatants, the humans cheated. Pixie hacked a war machine mid-fight, overriding its targeting system and turning it against its own allies. Jack physically climbed onto another, yanking out crucial wires like he was fixing a malfunctioning toaster. Priya reverse-engineered their shielding tech in real time, exploiting a vulnerability the engineers never considered. And Ford? He simply used tactics. He barked orders, directing the chaos with the precision of a battlefield commander, turning an impossible fight into a human victory. By the time the last machine fell, the Colosseum was deathly silent. The Galactic Council watched, speechless. The betting pools were in ruins. No one had ever done this before. No one had ever broken the test. Vorthrex's claws tapped against the armrest. He had underestimated these creatures. Their intelligence was one thing, their endurance another, but their adaptability? That was what made them truly terrifying. He exhaled slowly. Prepare the final challenge. One of his aides hesitated. Chancellor, they might actually win. Vorthrex's golden eyes glowed. I know. Vorthrex had always believed in control. The galactic strength test existed to remind new species of their place, to grind down their arrogance before they became a threat. But as he watched the humans defy every expectation, a cold realization settled in his chest. They were not losing. They were winning. And worse, they were having fun. The final challenge was never meant to be completed. It was designed to break the spirit, not just the body. Vorthrex had seen warriors collapse in despair, watched brilliant minds fracture under the sheer unfairness of the test. Yet these humans, they were grinning. Vorthrex's mandibles clicked in agitation. He turned to his aides. Initiate the gauntlet. The floor beneath the humans vanished. Ford hit the ground in a practice roll, absorbing the impact. Around him, his team groaned as they scrambled upright. They were in a vast, open arena with shifting terrain, crumbling platforms, high-speed wind tunnels, and gravity wells that flickered unpredictably. A voice echoed from unseen speakers. Final challenge. Survive. Jack snorted. That's it? Just survive? The sky cracked open. Massive, biomechanical constructs descended, their multi-limbed forms writhing as energy weapons hummed to life. Then the arena itself started moving, sections breaking apart, flipping or launching into the air. Ford exhaled sharply. Oh, that kind of survive. Pixie, eyes gleaming with something between terror and excitement, let out a breathless laugh. I love this test. The fight begins. The first attack came fast. A mechanical behemoth lunged, its limbs shattering the ground where the humans had been standing seconds before. Priya was already running calculations. It's adapting to our movements. It's tracking predictive patterns. Jack grinned. Oh, let's get unpredictable then. He sprinted toward the edge of the platform, then jumped off. Ford swore. Jack! But instead of plummeting into the abyss, Jack hit a gravity well midair, launching him sideways. He twisted, fired his grappling line, and swung onto the back of the war construct like it was mechanical bull. The aliens watching collectively gasped. What is that human doing? A Lekri ambassador whispered. Vorthrex could not look away. Something stupid. Jack, clinging to the machine, grinned. All right, big guy, let's go for a ride. The war construct buckled, trying to shake him off. But Jack had already found what he was looking for, a panel, barely the size of his palm, glowing with energy conduits. He punched it with both hands. The war machine convulsed as sparks exploded from its chassis. It stumbled, its movements turning erratic. Jack laughed. Hey, Pixie. Turns out their power cores are real easy to overload. Pixie's eyes lit up. Oh, you magnificent idiot. She sprinted toward the next war machine, wrench already in hand. Meanwhile, Priya was breaking the test in a different way. She had noticed something crucial. The arena's shifting platforms were following a mathematical pattern. It's not random, she muttered, eyes darting between moving sections. It's a fractal sequence. If I can just... She tapped her wrist console, sending a quick override signal to Pixie's hack system. The platforms froze and realigned, creating a perfect path toward the exit. Ford saw what she'd done and nodded in approval. We have a way out. Let's move. Jack, still clinging to his malfunctioning ride, called out, slight issue. This thing is definitely about to explode. Ford sighed, then jump before it does. Jack saluted. Aye, Captain. He jumped. The war construct detonated behind him, sending shock waves through the battlefield. Jack somersaulted midair, hit another gravity well, and landed in a perfect crouch next to his teammates. Ford gave him a look. You do that on purpose? Jack grinned. Wouldn't you like to know? Ford turned to Pixie. Exit route? Pixie gestured toward the now stable platforms. Priya's a genius, and I am fully endorsing her for Galactic Overlord. Priya smirked. Noted. Now run. The team sprinted across the collapsing arena. Behind them, the remaining war constructs tried to adapt, but Priya had locked the system into a logic loop, causing them to hesitate. Seconds before the final explosion tore the battlefield, the humans leapt onto the last platform. They landed hard, dust and energy residues settling around them. And then, silence. The council was stunned. The humans weren't just alive. They had won. The galactic strength test, the most impossible challenge in known history, had been completed on a first attempt. Vorthrex rose slowly from his seat, his golden eyes locked onto the human below. He had spent centuries believing in the test's power, its ability to control the future of the galactic order. But these creatures, they refused to be controlled. He exhaled. Humans? Ford looked up. Chancellor. Vorthrex studied them for a long moment. The arena's ruins still smoldered, the evidence of their victory undeniable. Finally he spoke. You were never supposed to win. Jack, still catching his breath, laughed. Well, that sounds like a you problem. A flicker of something crossed Vorthrex's expression. Annoyance, amusement, respect. This changes things, he admitted. Priya dusted off her jacket. Good. We like changing things. Vorthrex nodded once. Very well. You have proven yourselves. The Galactic Council will convene to discuss the implications of your success. Ford nodded. We'll be waiting. As the humans turned to leave, whispers rippled through the crowd. Some aliens looked awed, others terrified. Because for the first time in history, a new species hadn't just joined the galactic order. They had rewritten the rules entirely. The moment the humans stepped out of the arena, the galaxy changed. Before the test, they had been a curiosity, a primitive species barely worth notice. Now, they were something else entirely. The impossible winners. The rule breakers. The ones who had shattered the galactic strength test on their first attempt. The council chamber was a cacophony of voices, diplomats whispering in their respective languages, some in shock, others in fear. The Lechery, masters of calculated probability, couldn't comprehend how their predictions had been so thoroughly demolished. The Uraki warlords, known for their brutal warrior culture, now regarded humanity with cautious admiration. And High Chancellor Vorthrex? He was silent, watching, calculating. Finally, he stood, his golden eyes locking on to Ford. You understand what you've done? Ford, still dusting off his uniform, looked up. We won. That's what we did. Vorthrex's mandibles clicked. You broke something far more significant than the test. Pixie, leaning casually against Jack, smirked. We do that a lot. Vorthrex exhaled slowly. This was not a contest for glory. The test exists to determine a species' place in the galactic hierarchy. The challenge was designed to measure strength, resilience, and discipline. Jack interrupted with a grin. And we aced it. Vorthrex's glare could have cut through starship armor. You do in the way others do. You! His mandibles twitched, as if struggling to find the words. You undermined it. You did not simply endure the trials. You broke them apart. You mocked them. You! He gestured vaguely at Jack, climbed a war machine and punched it. Jack shrugged. Seemed like the thing to do. Vorthrex turned to Priya. And you hacked the test's mathematical foundation mid-trial. That has never been done. Priya adjusted her glasses. Guess you should have put in better safeguards. The chamber erupted again, some alien dignitaries murmuring in panic, others arguing about the implications. Vorthrex raised a clawed hand. The room fell silent. Do you know what this means? He asked. Ford's voice was steady. It means we're not a species to be ignored. Vorthrex studied him for a long moment. Then, for the first time, the High Chancellor of the Galactic Council did something no one had ever seen before. He smiled. You are dangerous, he said. There was no insult in the words, only fact. Ford met his gaze, unwavering. We know. The fallout. The team walked to the grand halls of the Galactic Council, the murmurs of alien delegates trailing behind them like shadows. They were no longer unknown newcomers. They were legendary. Pixie nudged Ford. So, think they'll invite us to the next intergalactic potluck? Priya smirked. More likely they'll start running tests to see if we're some kind of cosmic anomaly. Jack cracked his knuckles. They should have known better. We're humans. We do the impossible before breakfast. Ford exhaled. We made a statement today. But it's not just about us. This changes how the galaxy sees all of humanity. Pixie rolled her eyes. Yeah, history-making moment, yada yada. But seriously, we know what we did. What about them? She nodded toward the gathering aliens, still murmuring in hushed, nervous tones. Jack grinned. Oh, they're terrified. Priya adjusted her wrist console. And if they're smart, they should be. Ford turned back toward the council chamber one last time, catching Vorthrex's gaze from across the hall. The Chancellor didn't look angry anymore. He looked intrigued, and perhaps just slightly impressed. Ford smirked. Then he turned and walked away. Epilogue, the ripple effect. The story of humanity's first strength test spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Lechery mathematicians redid their probability calculations a dozen times. The Uraki warlords debated whether humanity was a worthy ally or a future enemy. And on 1,000 worlds, people whispered one undeniable truth. Humans didn't just survive. They changed the game. And the galaxy would never be the same.